Welcome back, viewers, to the latest researches and news. Today we have three major battlefield and strategic developments from the Tigray, Afar and Amhara region. Firstly, we'll update you about Fano strikes in East Gojjam, while the Ethiopian National Defense Force is distracted by Chalk Mountain. Around 120 regime casualties reported in Bese Semeda. Secondly, about Tigray People Liberation Front locks down the Raya front. 4 armies repositioned across Raya and Afar simultaneously. Regime forces abandon South Wollo camps and rush to the same front, both sides concentrating on the same critical corridor. And in last, about Ethiopian National Defense Force establishes new drone operation sites near Lalibela Airport and in Shifra, Afar. The Wollo-Afar Tigray corridor is now under drone surveillance. What this means for the resistance and for the coming battle. Let us start with the attack that demonstrates one of Fano's most consistent and effective strategic principles. In the Bese Semeda area of East Gojam Zone, Fano fighters carried out a coordinated operation targeting regime-aligned security and militia personnel. Fano spokesperson Asrat Maret Damte confirmed the operation and stated that heavy casualties were inflicted on regime-aligned forces in the area. The figures coming from Fano linked sources put the total number of casualties at approximately 120, covering members of a special strike force deployed in the area, police personnel, and militia. We present these figures as claimed by Fano sources. They have not been independently verified, but the scale of the claim and the pattern it fits makes it worth examining carefully. Here is the strategic logic behind what happened in Base Semeda. Right now, the Ethiopian Federal Military is heavily concentrated around the Chalk Mountain area. Major operations, significant troop deployments, artillery. The Ethiopian National Defense Force has invested substantial resources and personnel in securing Chalk Mountain because of its strategic value. Whoever controls those heights controls movement and supply lines across a large stretch of East Gojam. But that concentration has a cost. Every soldier sent to Chalk Mountain is a soldier not covering somewhere else. Every special strike force unit deployed to hold a mountain position is a unit not present in the surrounding districts. Fano has argued consistently and demonstrated repeatedly that the regime cannot simultaneously concentrate forces in strategic locations and maintain security coverage across the entire Amhara region. The region is too large. The fronts are too many. The resistance is too mobile. Base Semeda is the proof. While the Ethiopian National Defense Force focuses on Chalk Mountain, a few raiders away, Fano struck a security cluster and reportedly walked out with 120 casualties inflicted on regime forces. This is not coincidence. This is deliberate operational planning. Fano identifies where the regime has reduced its coverage due to redeployment pressures and strikes those points. It is a strategy of persistent pressure across a wide area designed to prevent the regime from ever feeling secure anywhere in Amhara, even when it believes it is winning somewhere specific. Chalk Mountain may be strategic, but so is every district the regime cannot protect while fighting for it. Now to the most significant troop movement story of the week. Because what is happening on the Raya front is not incremental. It is a full-scale realignment. The Tigray People Liberation Front has deployed additional personnel, including newly trained recruits to Addis Kane, Dingaye, Korem, and other frontline positions across the Raya corridor. Simultaneously, the organization of 4 major army units has been restructured across this front. Let us go through each assignment because the specificity matters. Army 24 has been assigned to the Amhara, Tigray and Gojjam areas, covering the western approaches to the Raya front from the Amhara direction. Army 33 has been assigned to the Raya Alamata, Raya Kobo, and Woldia directions, the central spine of the Raya corridor, where the A2 highway runs, and where Ethiopian National Defense Force forces have been concentrating their defensive positions. And Armies 43 and 44 have been assigned to Yalo and Kelewan Woredas in the Afar region, as well as the Zobo area of Raya Kobo Woreda. This is critical. The Afar deployment means Tigray People Liberation Front forces are not just covering the Tigray Amhara front. They are extending their operational reach into Afar, the region that connects the eastern supply routes to Wollo. Now here is what makes this Tigray People Liberation Front movement even more significant. It is happening at the same moment that regime forces are abandoning their positions elsewhere to rush to the same front. Regime forces vacated military camps in Wegdi, Mekdela, and Down Woredas in South Wollo, all three of which, you may recall from our recent reports, fell to Fano after regime troops left them. Those troops were redeployed to the Raya front. Both sides are converging on the same corridor simultaneously. The regime is pulling troops from South Wollo and sending them north. The Tigray People Liberation Front is sending fresh troops and reorganized armies into Raya from the Tigray side. 4 Tigray People Liberation Front armies, newly trained recruits, covering 3 different axes: Amhara, the A2 corridor, and Afar. The Raya front is not being reinforced. It is being transformed into a fully structured fighting front. This is not the same situation as 2 weeks ago. The volume of troops, the organizational structure, and the simultaneous regime redeployment all point to one thing. Both sides are preparing for the decisive engagement on this corridor. And it is coming soon. And now to a development that tells us the Ethiopian National Defense Force's own assessment of where the most dangerous front is going to be. The Ethiopian military has reportedly established 2 new drone operation positions along the Wollo-Afar Tigray corridor. The first is near Lalibela Airport in North Wollo. Lalibela needs no introduction in terms of cultural and historical significance, but its military significance is equally important. The airport sits in North Wollo, close to the Tigray border. It is in contested territory, an area that has changed hands and been fought over at different points in this conflict. A drone operation position near Lalibela means the Ethiopian National Defense Force can surveil and potentially strike along the approach routes from southern Tigray into North Wollo, the exact direction from which Tigray People Liberation Front forces would advance. The second position is in Shifra, in the Afar region. Unlike Lalibela, Shifra's significance is not geographic landmark, but logistical corridor. Shifra connects Afar to Wollo. It sits on routes that link the eastern supply lines to the northern fronts. A drone position in Shifra means the Ethiopian National Defense Force can monitor movement along the Afar-Wollo connector, the same routes that Tigray People Liberation Front's Armies 43 and 44 are now being assigned to operate in. Together, Lalibela and Shifra, these 2 drone positions, create an overlapping surveillance arc across the Wollo-Afar southern Tigray triangle. That is exactly the corridor where Tigray People Liberation Front has just deployed 4 reorganized armies, where Fano is active in Raya Kobo, where the Daunt ambush just happened, where regime forces from South Wollo are rushing to reinforce. The Ethiopian National Defense Force is not putting drones in random locations. It is putting them where it expects the next major battle. And those locations align precisely with every movement we have been tracking on the resistance side. From the resistance perspective, this drone deployment is a threat that must be taken seriously. We reported previously that the Tigray People Liberation Front has been deploying air defense systems across multiple locations. The drone positions at Lalibela and Chifra are exactly the kind of capability those air defense installations are designed to counter. A surveillance and strike arc covering the Afar Tigray corridor, and a resistance that has been preparing air defense specifically for this moment. The corridor is now covered by Ethiopian National Defense Force drones from two angles. It is also where 4 Tigray People Liberation Front armies are positioned. The collision point is the same on both maps. Let us bring today's full picture together, because these 3 stories are not separate. They are chapters of the same escalation. In East Gojjam Fano struck base Semeda, while the Ethiopian National Defense Force was focused on Chok Mountain. Around 120 regime casualties climbed. The principle holds: a military fighting everywhere cannot be strong anywhere. On the Raya front, Tigray People Liberation Front has deployed 4 reorganized armies covering 3 separate axes, including an extension into Afar. Regime forces are abandoning South Wollo camps and rushing to the same front. The decisive corridor is being filled by both sides simultaneously. And from the air, the Ethiopian National Defense Force has activated drone positions near Lalibela and Chifra, covering the exact corridor where the biggest concentration of troops on both sides is now located. Everything is pointing to the same place: the Afar Tigray corridor, the Raya front, the A2 highway. Both sides have made their calculation. Both sides have sent their forces. The drones are up. The armies are in position. We will keep reporting as this develops. Like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update.